What in the world is going on around us? Change has always been part of the human experience. It's just that the pace of change is exponential now. Every organization, every institution I know is making significant shifts. We as human beings try to understand what's happening in our experience because we're meaning-making sort of creatures. And when we don't have accurate understanding of what's happening, we will create some explanation. Sometimes we will blame. So I'm very thankful for people like Phyllis Tickle, who wrote The Great Emergence and describes the 500-year cycles of the church. And she says that we are at the end of the modern period and the beginning of the postmodern period. As we go about working with churches of many different denominations in various places, we recognize they are responding to these changes. And in the shift material, we've created a diagram called the Developmental Response Continuum. I wanted to invite you to consider where your church might be on that continuum. The responses tend to cluster around three areas. The first cluster is not so adaptive and not so helpful, including things like abandonment or denial or overwhelmed apathy or hyper-control or conflict. The second cluster are more helpful. They include things like responses like trying harder, like quality improvement, like spiritualizing. These are more helpful. And yet the third cluster is the most adaptive for congregations. That begins with letting go, giving themselves permission to let go of church as we have known it and start to embrace church as it is becoming. These churches then move on to a foundational question, which is, what is church about anyway? What's the purpose of us as faith communities? And when they do this, it frees them up then to engage holy experimenting, finding where the Spirit is leading, where the energy is rising up and following the Spirit's lead. And finally, this leads to proactive adaptation for them. I want to invite you to consider where your congregation might be on that developmental response continuum, cluster 1, 2, or 3. And finally, I would say, I don't know about you, but there's no way I want to miss out in participating in the unfolding of God's kingdom in our world.